Hello, class. We'll be starting with introduction to cybersecurity today. Uh, this is the fundamentals of cybersecurity. The aim of this today class is to introduce is the introduction of cybersecurity with the goal, with the importance of cybersecurity. So we are going to start with the fundamentals of cybersecurity. When we are talking about cybersecurity is protecting a particular systems network data from cyber threats. So we must ensure with the cyber security is to ensure that there's confidentiality of the data network and systems, information system integrity and availability of all these informations, network, data. So that's the goal of our cybersecurity. For to go deeper into the goal of cybersecurity, we'll be talking about our confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Those are the three key goals of cybersecurity which should be discussed. When we are talking of confidentiality, we are talking about ensuring that information is accessible only to the world to be authorized, only to those that are authorized to have access to it. So that is for confidentiality. No, making sure that unauthorized personnel or entity does not have access to a particular what system, data, network, and so forth, etc. So that is for confidentiality. And then integrity. When we are talking of integrity, we are talking of making sure there's no alteration on a particular data information system, password, and so forth. There's no alterations, there's no modifications, which is maintaining the accuracy and reliability of a data over its life cycle. Throughout the life cycle, the reliability, the authenticity, the accuracy, there is no modification by unauthorized users. The alteration, the modification is being authorized by what? By authorized entity. Now let's move to the availability part. We are talking of the availability part is to ensure that authorized users have consistent and timely access to system and data. They have what? Consistent. Like anytime they need it, they can have access to it. They are the authorized users. Anytime they need this, they what? They have access to it. There's not that there's nothing related to they cannot have access. Let me use a bank as an example. Having access to your bank account, maybe you want to do a particular transaction and you want to have access to your mobile banking and you could not have and then you could not log in, you could not do transaction. That is the availability of that services has been what? Has been breached. Has been what? Has been breached. The availability has been compromised. And the integrity. Maybe someone have access. Let me talk about confidentiality of this example. Uh, your mobile bank, someone have access to your what mobile bank, which is unauthorized, which you not authorize it, you do not authorize it. Someone have access, which means the confidentiality has been broken, has been what has been compromised, and the integrity in the example of this mobile banking is when someone make modification, maybe do transaction, make transfer from your account, and you did not authorize this transaction. The integrity has been broken. This is what this is the goal of the cyber security and the importance of cyber security. Number one is to what? Protect sensitive information, sensitive data, classified information. Yes, that's the what? That is the importance. And number two, prevent financial loss. This will cause prevention loss if there's modification in the what? In integrity. Maybe someone have access to the bank network and was able to move away, like the Bybit incident that happens over 1 point something billion was what was taken away that was missing due to some negligence. So that is for the that's for the financial loss. The aim of cybersecurity is to prevent financial loss. And number three is to maintain trust and reputation. To maintain what trust and reputation. Imagine you are banking with a particular bank and something suddenly happened that your money just disappear in your bank account. Number one, the reputation of the bank has been what? destroyed, or there's a breach in their network that go viral, the reputation of such institution or bank has been breached, like has been compromised. And you as a customer, your information, your data is not safe with them, your money is not safe with them. There is now what? Trust issue. The trust you have for that bank for you to keep your money with them has lost, compromised. And let's look at the fourth one, which is safeguard national and organization security. That is also why cybersecurity is also important, to make sure the national security, the cyber security, like the national cyber security is being what? Is being safeguarded. And organization security, company, industry, businesses, operations are what? Are secured. That is the importance of cyber security. Now we will move to cybersecurity framework. Framework. Move to cybersecurity framework. When we're talking of cybersecurity framework, this provide structure guideline, safeguard national and organization security. Yes. Don't worry, you get this material. So when we are talking of cybersecurity framework, we are talking of this is a structured guideline for managing security risk, guidelines, step by step procedure, how to implement security, managing security risk. Although we'll be discussing on some of them which are popular, we have NIS cybersecurity framework, which is CFS cybersecurity framework. Number one, we have NIS is National Institute for Standard and Technology. So the goal of this NISC, the goal of this NISC is to make sure that is to identify. Number one step is identify, which is to understand the organization risk. You have to understand by identifying their devices, their network infrastructure, the data, the asset they have identified so that you can understand the organization what risk. Number two, protect is to protect, which is to develop a strategy, a safeguard, security control for the asset, for this classified information asset. So is to develop a security control, to develop a safeguard for this what for the organization asset. And number two, the test, which is to identify cybersecurity events. What are the cybersecurity events that can leverage on all these what devices and respond, which is to take action on detected incident. If there's any incident, that's why we have incident responder team to take action every necessary, which have been prepared against all this, and then recover to restore capability and services, which is to if there's any incident, if there's any breach, to make sure that every services is restored to its work, to its normal capability and it is what services. Now let's move to ISO/IEC. This is another framework. This focuses on creating information security management system, National Institute for Standard and Technology. So we also have ISO/IEC 27001. This focus on creating an information security management system, managing what, how to manage information system, data, assets. So managing them, this is what this framework is talking about. And we also have CIS control. This sets a priorities action that organization can implement to improve their security postures. So these are examples for a small business using NISC CSF cybersecurity framework. They might begin by identifying their critical data and implementing firewall and antivirus software to protect against common threats. So they need to identify their data, which are the critical or classified what assets, and then implement a framework, knowing the threat that leverage on this critical or classified assets, and implementing security control like antivirus, firewall, IDS, IPS to protect all these common threats that leverage on the systems, on the data. Now, we have common terminologies in cyber security. So let's talk about the common terminologies in cybersecurity. Number one, we have threats. When we are talking of threats, it's a potential cause of an unwanted incident that could harm an organization. This, when we are talking of threat is an incident that is yet to happen, but it's something that has potential damages. When it occurs, it can destroy, damage the organization, the security, the organization assets. When it occurs, it can cause financial loss, trust issue, or fine or non-compliance fine, and so forth. That's great. It can destroy the most critical and tangible asset of the organization. It's a threat. It is something. It is potential that is yet to happen. It's a potential cause of an unwanted incident that will harm the organization. And we also have vulnerability. When we are talking of vulnerability, it's a weakness, it's a loophole in a system or network that can be exploited by threat actors. By what? By an hacker, threat actor. It's a weakness, loophole in a software, in a network, in a system, in a storage devices that can cause damages, that can that a threat actor can exploit. That is for that. And we also have risk. When we are talking of risk, the potential for loss or damages. When a threat exploits, when a threat actor exploits a vulnerability, when we are, the potential for loss, that is risk. The potential for loss or damages, the potential of damages that will be caused when a particular vulnerability is being what? Exploited. Are you with me, sir? When a threat exploits a what? The vulnerability. Or a threat actor exploits the vulnerability. When we are talking of a threat actor, is the hacker that see the vulnerability doing the OCs, open source intelligence. So after that, you now exploit it. That is risk for you, the potential for loss or damages that it will cause when the vulnerability has been exploited. Remember, a vulnerability is a weakness in a system or network. It can be software, network, system, storage device, and so forth. Or in the physical infrastructure building, organization building, when there's what? Loopholes in the in the security measure. So a threat actor can exploit that, which is the vulnerability, the weakness in the system, and the risk is the potential for loss or damages when the vulnerability has been exploited. While a threat is a potential cause of an unwanted incident that could harm the organization. It is yet to be exploited, but it's a threat that can cause a damages, and can cause a financial loss, data damage issue, can destroy that data, and so forth. And we also have exploit also. Exploit is a method used to attack a system. When you hear attack, which is exploit, our system has been attacked, which is what? The system has been exploited. That is what we call what? Exploit. And then we also have attack vectors. When we are talking of attack vector, we are talking about the path or a method attacker use or a threat actor use to exploit to gain unauthorized assets to exploit a particular war system. Exactly, sir. So attack vector, this is a path or a method. The loophole, that loophole, the method, when you see the loophole, that's when you now know your attack vectors. Okay, this is a loophole, this is my what? This is the attack vectors I can use to what? To gain unauthorized access or modification or destroy particular data. Now we also have phishing. When we're talking of phishing, a fraudulent attempt to obtain sensitive information by pretending to be a trusted entity. When we are talking of phishing is a way of deceiving someone, deceiving someone, like trying to gain some confidential information from a particular person that have that information. So that is what we call phishing. And we also have a 0 day. A 0 day, yes, you can use email. Now, although we call it social engineering, part of the social engineering is just a phishing method. You have smishing, you have phishing. Phishing, your smishing is texting you an SMS that will say this one, you have won this one, just to okay, send me your this one. Phishing is calling you or and then we also have shoulder stuffing when someone stay behind your back as or maybe you are doing some transaction and not say and not be looking at what you are doing. These are examples of social engineering methods. But phishing is the most popular one that they use to gain some information pertaining to be control. Like maybe you are working in an organization and I want to have access to your network and then I need a particular password and username. So I want to get it. I will not ask, okay, say I'm the director of social department, send me social information and you not know it. Just send it. That's all. Now let's talk about 0 day. Now, talking of 0 day, a vulnerability that is exploited before it is known or fixed by a vendor. When we are talking of 0 day, 0 day is a vulnerability that can be what? That exists but has no solution. It has not been what? There's no solution to it. This vulnerability exists. Or the first time it is being exploited, and there's no what patch. There's no security patch for it. Even though there's some vulnerability that exists today now, there's no security patch for them. Now we call them 0 day. When it has been exploited, you say 0 day attack, it's 0 day exploit. When this vulnerability has been what has been known, but there's no solution patch for them, security patch for them, but it has not been exploited, we call them 0 day vulnerability because there's no security patches for them. There's no solution for them. Exploit it, yes. If an attacker now exploits it, we now call it 0 day attack or 0 day exploitation or exploit. So we have 0 day vulnerability, we also have a 0 day exploit because there's no security solution for them or security patch for them. Yes, we also have 0 day exploitation exploits. Now, this example in common terminologies in cybersecurity, we have many of them, although as time goes on, we'll be talking to us. So this is an example. A phishing attack is a threat, and if an employee unknowingly click on a malicious link due to lack of training, it could exploit the vulnerability of human error. And most of the attack, 70% of the attack in this world today is due to human error. Sometimes it's configuration, sometimes phishing, and so on and so forth. Due to human error, sometimes insider. Yes. So that is for that. So let's go to top 10 open web application security projects vulnerability. You have top 10 of them. So the open web application security projects, this is a list of most critical security vulnerability in the web applications. Number one, injection. We call it SQL injection. Exploiting, when we are talking of injection, exploiting code input was feed. Okay, let us use some example. When we are talking of exploiting code input feed, this is when we are talking about uh, this is when we are talking about uh, search bar. A search bar, we have search bar, right? search bar on the website. You also have, when you are talking of input field, where you can enter information. Maybe you want to, create your name, you want to create password, like you want to create account. The input field can be where you input your name, your username, your password, and those things. Now, exploiting that input field, like you inserting malicious code. It can be inserting malicious code instead of you to put your name. You now insert a malicious code that will not what divulge the the database information for you. Sometimes with this kind of code, you can what extract, you can get database information, user password, usernames, and so forth with this what with this kind of what attack. And we also have example: an attacker ingests malicious SQL command to access unauthorized data. So let's continue, sir. Sorry for so an attacker. Look at the example. An attacker ingests malicious SQL command to access unauthorized data. That's an example. And they also have broken authentication, which is poor implementation of authentication system. Poor implementation. When you implement, like allowing user to log on without proper session timeout. If there's no session timeout implementation, this can cause poor implementation of authentication system. And we also have sensitive data exposure, inadequate protection of sensitive data. If you don't protect them very well, like storing password in plain text by not encrypting them, this is another what vulnerability also. We also have SML external entity, which is exploiting code SML processors. Example: manipulate XML input to access server files. Mostly this is on server files. And then we also have broken access control, which is failing to enforce user access policy. If you don't implement user access policy, this can also, like least privilege, this can cause all authorized user gaining admin privilege. When you don't implement least privilege, this can cause that maybe you are giving minimum access based on what? Based on user tax. You cannot give an ordinary staff a staff that just want to just a help desk, giving him privileged access to admin privilege to a particular system which has financial system and so many things. Implementing least privilege will help to us to mitigate this vulnerability. And then we also have security misconfiguration using default settings or incomplete configurations. And then example is a default admin password left unchanged. When you are using default admin password, username password, the password is also password. Also, we also have cross-site scripting, cross-site scripting, which is injecting malicious script into a web pages. When attacker embed JavaScript in a comment box to steal what? Cookies, your browsing cookies. And then we also have insecure deserialization, which is exploiting serialized data for malicious action. Exploiting serialized data for malicious action. Example is modifying serialized data to gain system access. We also have using components with low vulnerability, using devices that is vulnerable. There are some servers that are vulnerable, either software that are vulnerable, utilizing that outdated or vulnerable softwares. This also part of the vulnerability. Example: running a web server with a known critical vulnerability like Windows Server 12, 2012, 2016. You are using SMB version 1, which is vulnerable for zero logon attack. If you are using that, it's also vulnerable. We also have insufficient logon and monitoring. Failure to detect and respond to breaches. You are not monitoring your login and login and activities on the network, on the systems. Lack of alert when an unauthorized access attempts occur. When there's unauthorized access attempt occur, there's no what, there's no alert, there's no notification for that. So you are done with the first stage. These are the assignments you are going to look into. Assignment, these are assignments for you. Like the assignment is fundamental of cybersecurity, the security frameworks, common technologies, and top 10. Top 10. Uh, these are the questions for practical of this site. And then this describe the CIA tribe, describe the CIA tribe with real world example for each component. List three reasons why organizations should prioritize cybersecurity. Do research on that, and then we have explained it. And then cybersecurity framework also, which is to compare the NIST SF with ISO/IEC 27001 in terms of focus area and applicabilities, which is the application, the area resistance, and also identify which framework would best suit a financial institution and justify your answers. And common technologies, define and provide example of terms, threats, vulnerability, and risk based on your what, on your knowledge, and also and then uh, and also research and explain what 0 day means with an example from recent cybersecurity news. Example. And then the OWASP top 10, which is to identify three vulnerabilities from the OWASP top 10 and provide example of how they can be exploited. And also suggest two measures to mitigate each of the three vulnerabilities.